Match you live on video anyway. I don't know too much about making videos. I was gonna live stream. I decided I'd just pull a bunch of records, drop the needle on a little bit of De La Soul, and let's rap about this Canntrust thing because it is sucking up all of the oxygen in pod stocks. This morning, Globe Mail comes out. They've got this snitch ex-Canntrust employee who rang up Health Canada, told them about staging fake rooms, putting up fake walls to show empty rooms when really they were full of weed, which effectively is unlicensed growing, and Health Canada doesn't think too highly of that sort of thing. Now, the initial story focused on the amount of product that got seized from Canntrust. That was 52,000 keys got seized from, 5,200 keys got seized from Canntrust. They froze another 7,500 keys. This was interesting because it was the first look we actually got at their inventory by weight, but it ultimately doesn't really matter, and it sort of filtered to the top because it was all we had. The company's initial statements were pretty defensive. Van Mollison-Bramnian had a great pull quote. She's probably one of the best reporters in Canada today. Shout out to Van Molla. She's working over at the Financial Post, and she had this great pull quote. Let me pull it up here. Look, mistakes were absolutely made at Canntrust. How defensive does that sound? Anybody who starts a sentence, no, look, listen, I made a mistake. Look, you know, this isn't a guy who's ready to own up. This isn't a company that initially was ready to do a mea culpa, despite the fact that they admitted to it. The spin on it was, or the tone that they took with it was, well, we drew some, we weren't supposed to, it's no big deal, we're freezing the inventory, etc. Health Canada not looking to see it that way. So the focus now is on whether or not they're going to lose their license. Obviously, that's pretty important. The license is sort of all they got right now. But I think that there's more to it than that. Even if they keep their license, I'm not sure that Canntrust is looking so good. Now, the best coverage of this came from Smart Money Gains and their own betting Bruiser. Now, Bruiser is right up in the Niagara cannabis scene. He got a hold of these blueprints. This is the area we're talking about. It's phase 2. So there's the key here is when this got licensed and when it didn't, and when the company said it was licensed. Now, at the end of December, we've I look at this table here. I pulled up this table. This is from their December MD&A, right? This shows phase 2, Niagara phase 1 and 2, in production, licensed for cultivation and sale. Now, was it fully licensed? I mean, now we're talking about semantics. They're walking a pretty thin line here. If you're Health Canada and you're reading this, you're going, well, wait a minute. I know what's licensed and what isn't. Now, if you're an investor, you don't know what's licensed and what isn't. You're relying on the company to tell you. So if there's a portion that wasn't licensed and they said it was being licensed, well, there you go. That's a material misstatement. Now, the other sharp that had really good coverage on this was Go Blue CDN. He's a University of Michigan fan, one of the Canalists. If you don't subscribe to the Canalists, well, I feel sorry for you because you're missing out. This is a graph that Go Blue CDN Craig Woodkins had up in his latest examining of the blast crater, he called it. So Q0 is the most recent quarter. That's going to be your March quarter. Q1 is going to be your December quarter. Now, the green bar is their inventory. Look at that bump in inventory. You don't get a bump in inventory like that unless there's plants growing. Now, here you've got your fair value of biological assets. That's your red bar. This is tough stuff to track, but Wiggins is super good at it. And you can see the bump in biological assets. So obviously, you've got a lot more plants growing in Q0. If you're Health Canada, you know what's up. You know they're not licensed, and they're growing when they're not supposed to. It's plain as their own disclosures. So shout out to Go Blue CDN. You subscribe to the channel. It's excellent research. You guys, any kind of outlet that is paid by the companies they cover is not worth listening to. Go Blue CDN and the Canalist, Molly Time, all those guys, the readers pay them, and that's who their allegiance is to, so you know they're giving you the straight goods. Can't say enough about them. So obviously this is not too great for Canntrust, but if we roll the tape back to December, Peter Aceto was on the mining letter. On the Midas letter. With James West, who for once was asking a hard question. I don't think he knew it at the time, but this is suddenly relevant, and I hate to make you watch the Midas letter. Shut out, James. Let's just get right into it.
phase 3. Let me just talk briefly about phase 2. So phase 2 is expected to be completed in the month of January. I believe what we've communicated to the marketplace is that our hope was that was going to be done by the end of 2018. So we're actually pretty close, which should get us in a position where from an annualized production capacity, we're at about 50,000 kilograms annualized. So we're off maybe 30 to 40 days on that one, but I think we're really in the home stretch. We've got 3 rooms coming on board in the next 4 weeks, and that will be the end of phase 2. Phase 3, which I think is some of the discussion about. We have 10 permits with the town of Pelham. You're right, they have felt generally a little uncomfortable about the amount of cannabis players that are in their area, and they have put a temporary moratorium on some of the permit granting. Now, it was really interesting in our case, and we bought an additional 19 acres of land adjacent to our land, and actually if those had been combined before we submitted the application, we would have had all of our permits approved beforehand, but here we are. So we're in regular conversation with the town of Pelham. So we still think that our phase 3 plans are very possible that can continue to go forward. That being said, we've got obligations to our shareholders and we need to drive our business forward. So we're looking at alternatives as well. For example, using our property for outdoor grow and accelerating that we don't need town permitting for. We do need Health Canada approvals for, and we are taking steps already to seek that. We're talking to other greenhouse providers in Ontario, but also all around the country. And I think in the future you're going to hear us talking a lot more about outdoor grow and ideal environments to grow outdoor, particularly for the extraction market. So I think what's really important from a shareholder perspective, or from any stakeholder perspective, is our hope was at the end of 2018 we would be at a 50,000 kilogram annualized production capacity. We're pretty close. Our plan with phase 3 was to be at 100,000.
Send lawyers, guns, and money. These guys, class action guys, they put news releases in the feed right away, as soon as the stock trades, right? The innocent bystanders, somehow they got caught. There is a serious case here. If we bring up the chart, I got a chart. Here it is. Down on my luck indeed. This was yesterday, 412. It's trying to hold the line this morning at $4. I don't know how much longer it's going to. Everyone's focused on the license, but I think that there's a serious class action problem here. More to the point, I reported on Monday that they had $3 million in cash. I was wrong. They have $20 million in cash. I don't know how long that lasts or doesn't as the shit hits the fan, as Warren Zevon says. Here's perspectives. They were trying to raise $200 million by selling 36 million shares at $5.50, plus a bunch of brokers warrants and stuff to a syndication. You got Jefferies in here, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. They had a U.S. listing. I mean, you might be able to kiss that U.S. listing goodbye, considering the fact that they're shipping illicit product to Denmark. I mean, I don't know what the New York Stock Exchange is going to think of that. Everything has completely gone off the rails. And meanwhile, here's Scotiabank. Scotiabank says that there is uncertainty ahead. They have a negative take. But look at this on the right-hand side. Sector perform, one-year target of $7. I mean, I'll never understand sell-side research. I'll never understand why people swallow it up. I suppose that Scotiabank sees that they're going to have to raise money at some point, and are hoping to be included in whatever supersedes this $200 million raise, because there's just no way that they're going to put that together. So as far as Canntrust goes, losing their license obviously wouldn't be good, but even if they keep their license, there will be a lawsuit. There has to be a lawsuit. It's an open and shut case. He's telling you that they're licensed when they clearly are not licensed, and that's just no good. On Monday, when this broke, we wanted to write about Canopy. We did write about Canopy. We've got a short on Canopy, and we think that it's going to be it's going to roll over here. There's no more Bruce to pull a rabbit out of a hat. There's no more surprises. There's no more puncher's chance. Canopy is not looking good. Let's bring up the chart here on Canopy. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so under its moving averages, MACD is rolling over, RSI is rolling over. You know, it's just not happy here. But our objection isn't technical, it's fundamental. Canopy has a lot of rooms that are down. If you read their MD&A, basically anything in BC isn't growing. They're having trouble all over the place. Subramaniam had them with a crop failure in the fall. There just isn't a lot of indication that this company can grow. We can grow it well. There was an article that we wrote about Aurora that went over how much they buy from other LPs and resell. Craig Wiggins calls that sleeving, which I guess is an industry term. I call it outsourcing or wholesaling, but whatever. The point is that we're able to calculate that for Aurora, but we aren't for Canopy because they don't tell us, right? So despite the fact that they're number one in unit sales, where's the unit sales? Here we go. Unit sales, right? See, they're number one in unit sales. Here's Aurora catching up to them, right? Neck and neck on the last quarter. And they've shown a regression, right? We can make a pretty good case that this is the result of stockpiling, right? So, because here you've got their inventory. You notice they used to give us how much dried cannabis, how much oil, and how much caps they have. They took that away 2 quarters ago, or only giving us the inventory value. They're also giving us the revenue and the unit sales. I kept the unit sales on here in kilograms because that's all I really care about. We've got a regression. We've got another regression. It looks like this Q4, that Q4 spike may well have been a sell-off, and we don't know what's left over for inventory. We don't know how these things are doing. More to the point, the metric that they took away from us that really matters is the margin metric. There's no way to calculate Canopy's margin on cannabis. They just because of the way they scrambled the metrics this time when they reported, you can't take the cost of sales of just the cannabis off. Now they had something like a 16% margin for the whole company, but you can't get right down to the core metric on their margin on cannabis. They didn't take that away because it's good. You know, we think that there's a serious problem with the way this company makes weed, the margin at which this company makes weed. Without Linton isn't the kind of guy who can build that sort of thing. He came from the software world and certainly knows how to promote a stock. The guy is an epic stock promoter. He belongs in the Stock Promoter Hall of Fame for getting that big check from Constellation. Constellation came around and realized that, you know, you're not producing your core product at a margin that we can live with, so I'll see you later. Now, getting that sorted out at the scale that they have is going to take time. So I think it gets worse before it gets better for Canopy. Let's see. I got a daily chart up here on Canopy. This is today. Still not a lot of strength in there. We bought some puts on Canopy, and I want to put a target somewhere in the $40, $45 range. I said when I wrote it that I was going to see how the media carried it. So far, they're carrying it not as loudly as they used to. Bruce had a way of just sticking his nose in front of a camera, and still does. He's just not doing it on behalf of Canopy, and I don't know who is. And if they do, I don't know what they're going to tell people. So, you know, you can feel a lot of consternation. You can feel people worried that Canopy isn't going to hold. You can feel people worrying that that's going to bring the whole sector down. I think it likely will, but I think some of the better operators are going to do better. One of them is Organigram. I like what they were doing. We'll pull that units back up. Where is it? There it is. Organigram is the light blue. You'll see they've grown 2 quarters in a row here. And I mean, for a small company, they're at more than half of what Canopy printed. They are going to report on Monday. You don't report earnings on Monday unless you're pretty sure they're good. You know, for example, Canopy's last earnings were reported on Friday after the market. Made us all work all weekend. Thanks, guys. That's why I shorted it. But in any case, so our outlook is that the better producers, the tighter shops are going to be able to advance and show the market that they can actually do what everyone was hoping that marijuana companies could do, which is produce big margins. And the ones who are doing that and shipping volume, they're going to do okay. The ones who aren't are going to do a lot worse. And I think that that capital's still going to be interested in the sector. It's just going to be a lot more selective. So our outlook is that we're long Organigram, we're short Canopy, and we are watching Canntrust and holding our breath just like anyone else. Fundamental Hype, fundamentalhype.com. If you want to read about more, leave us a comment, send us an email, follow us on Twitter @fundamentalhype. See you later.